Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's Adoption Q&A for hopeful adoptive parents. My name is Kim King, and I'm one of the adoptive family coordinators here at Lifetime, and our co-host for this evening and organizer is Libby Deniston, another one of Lifetime's coordinators. And we're excited to have you with us. I just need to cover a few things first. If you are brand new to Lifetime, of course, as you may have found, there is a wealth of information on our website at lifetimeadoption.com. On the website, you can see that there is a free application you can fill out online. It is a free online application with no obligation. If you want a shortcut there, it is lifetimeadoption.com/apply. It's a pretty streamlined application, and we have responses for adoptive parents within 5 business days. Of course, you may have a few questions, or you may have several questions. That's part of what we're going to work on tonight for you, is getting questions answered. But you may have some questions that are more specific in nature, more personally involving your past circumstances, adoption needs, experiences, and things like that. So you are welcome to have private conversations with us. Just call 1-800-923-6784, and we can make sure you get to a good coordinator who can start answering questions. But the biggest help to us, so that we can be the biggest help to you, is to fill out the application on our website, because then we can really tailor our time together around, what you're looking for and what your circumstances are, and give you some good feedback and actually some next steps that you can take toward your adoption. You can email adopt, ADOPT, at lifetimeadoption.com if you prefer to email your questions. Of course, if you already have a coordinator here at Lifetime, such as if you are one of our families already with us, or if you're already in the applications process, you may already have someone that you can call or email and ask specifically for. You can also join us on Facebook as you get to know us better. That's facebook.com/open.adoption. And we love to have great conversations, and our families and birth moms give really good feedback and tips and encouragement as well. So it's a great, safe, positive place online for discussing adoption. And you can also stay plugged into what's going on day to day here at Lifetime when we post about the happenings, such as maybe a drop in the lap or prayer needs, donation needs, happy stories from adoptive parents when they provide our updates. And so it's just a really fun place. That's facebook.com/open.adoption.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kim. I've been already typing with some people behind the scenes here to answer some of their questions, because like you started off, sometimes you may have a question on your mind that is very specific to you, and we invite you to type those in tonight too, because even if you're not sure if it fits within the webinar, we will still try and get you some information or direction, or maybe even some follow-up too. So if you have a question on your mind, we know that sometimes you may not even know how to start the sentence or phrase the question, and you can even just kind of type a thought and we'll piece it together for you, because truly what I love about these Q&As is a lot of people hoping to adopt don't always know what questions to ask. And so in settings like this, you get the opportunity to hear what other people are asking and think, oh yeah, I've been thinking of that, and I didn't even really know how to say it, or I never even thought to ask that before. So I'm so glad all of you are settling in. Again, we can cover a variety of topics, so please feel free. We do have, Kim, would you like to explain this? This is a great question that we've been getting a lot lately. I think a lot of people are trolling lifetimeadoption.com, and this is a very popular page that just says, I was wondering about the birth mothers seeking families, the ones listed on your website.
Yes, so we have on lifetimeadoption.com a page where little snippets of information about placing parents, they're shared. So it's not identifying information. It'll include something like maybe her race, her due date, or the age of child perhaps, mostly newborns, so probably a due date would be included. It'll include her state maybe, and a little bit about what she's looking for in adoption, and it might include a sentence or two about her circumstances, perhaps what has brought her to adoption, or if she would like open adoption, or if she's had any substances. Sometimes it'll say she had a couple drinks but then stopped once she found out she was pregnant. So it may share a little bit of any of those topics in the little blurb about a birth mom. And you'll see we literally have pages of little postings like that. And those are all active birth moms who are working with us. Now, she is inquiring about adoption, she is planning adoption or exploring adoption, but adoption is never a sure thing until the very end. So anyone could do anything at any point in the process. The listing is really there to help inform adoptive parents about the nature of birth moms, because everyone can be so different. There's no one cookie cutter birth mom, one category they all fit into. There are so many demographics, stories, and needs. So it's helpful to adoptive parents to be able to see some of those and really become informed about the birth mom's side of things. Sometimes adoptive parents comment that they're very surprised that birth moms have a certain type of family she's looking for, that side of the story never really occurred to them, that while they're concentrating so much on what they are looking for in adoption, which is of course very important to know your adoption needs, it's just now becoming apparent to them that a birth mom is going to have her preferences too, and they're going to need to be a mutual match. So it is very informative. Now, as far as the matching process here at Lifetime, our adoptive families never need to, nor should they ever request to be presented to a specific birth mom that they have seen online. Because if all of the preferences match, then your profile is presented to that birth mom. And there may be more details behind the scenes that are not shared on that listing that may mean that you weren't really a match and so your profile wasn't sent, or maybe you were totally a match and you were reading that listing and you're like, that sounds like a birth mom that we'd be perfect for her, she'd be perfect for us. And that may very well end up being your birth mom, but rest assured, if you are in our program, we have your profile, it's already sent to her if all the preferences match. So internally, the process that our coordinators and social workers are working on to present you to birth moms and pursue a match for you with a birth mom, the listing is really separate from that. The listing is shared more as a voluntary thing that our coordinators can each post about a birth mom she's working with, and then once that birth mom is matched, she's chosen a family, she's met all her requirements, she's now secured that match with one of our families, then of course that coordinator will go in and remove that listing. If the birth mom is unresponsive or she shares that she's no longer considering adoption with us, maybe she's going to parent, then we go ahead and remove the listing as well. So it's a little snapshot of information. These are women that are not just asking a question one time. These are actual women that are keeping in touch with us. They've allowed us to learn enough about them so that we can present profiles. Every single one of those birth moms has been presented with profiles, so we had enough to go on at that point.
Right, and I always like to make sure that people also understand that those are not all of the women that we're working with who are seriously considering adoption. Sometimes there's reasons that we cannot put them up on that list. Others move really quick. And Kim, you brought up, you reminded me of something I thought was very fascinating from last weekend. The on-call staff shared with me last weekend. They actually had a baby born on Saturday, and a few days prior to that, the birth mother had called us and said, I need to get things going, my due date is approaching very quickly, and she chose a family and went into labor a few days later. I mean, everything crashed down, you know, it came very fast. But she was very specific in what she was looking for, even to the point, and many of you may find this humorous or you might cringe, I don't know how this would make you feel, but our coordinators actually had to call families that she was considering and ask them to confirm which presidential candidate they voted for, because she was adamant that she wanted a family who voted for a specific candidate. And you know, that's not information that we keep on hand to query in a database. That's information that we have to actually call and say, we're working with a real birth mother who has this valid question. It's very important to her that her child is raised in a family who votes like she does. And so some of you might think, wow, you know, I was just thinking along the lines of whether we're two-parent or one-parent, or we have 0 children or 3 kids, you know, or live in the country or the city. But sometimes birth moms are very specific, and that's for your benefit too, that we listen to that. Because if we try and talk her into, well, you know, 8 out of 10 things that you requested are met in this family, it might be those 2 out of 10 things that really stick out and make her question her decision if she can't get that. So, you know, some of you were asking, there was a question kind of as a follow-up, asking if there's a wait list. And I hope that Kim's explanation helped clear that up, because a waitlist adoption style is sort of an outdated or older style of adopting. In the U.S., women know, and it's really cool to see from the educational side of things at Lifetime how much has progressed over even the last few years, that women, when they may not really understand open adoption, but a lot of them have heard that concept of, well, I know I can choose the parents. And they want that. And that really is going to mean a lot to you when your one adoption opportunity comes forward and you realize we were chosen for the right reasons. She's not just settling, and that she's moving forward with you because she believes you are the right fit. And Kim, this may sound kind of sappy, but I actually watched a movie this weekend, and I was hoping maybe that we'd get to something that would spark this for me to bring up. But have you heard of the movie Storks?
Yes, I actually really liked it.
It was really cute. It was really cute just as the movie itself. But yeah. I watched it. I just watched it last weekend.
Oh, I totally cried. I totally cried.
But there's this moment, and I said to my husband, through tears, just choked up as all get out, I said, that's birth moms. It was this moment at the end, and for any of you, this might spoil, I'm sorry, but it's worth watching.
No spoilers, Libby. Just say there's a moment at the end, leave it at that, and then they could all go see it.
There's a moment at the end where the stork who was trying to deliver this baby to the home that had requested this baby. Now, this is a very fantasy version of, I wish it was as easy as just writing a letter to some stork and then they come deliver a baby.
Correct.
I know all of you wish that was true.
I wish that was true.
There's this moment when, and you could tell the stork, because he had protected her, he had started to bond with her. In fact, there was kind of even a rule, don't look into the baby's eyes because the cuteness will get you. Like, they knew that they would bond with these babies if they really spent too much time with them. And this little baby's journey took a lot longer, and so this stork got very attached. And as he delivered the baby to the family who requested this baby, and they gave him a hug. Actually, I think what happened was the baby reached out and grabbed him as he was saying goodbye. And in a flash, couple seconds, he saw her whole life panned out, of learning to walk, to riding a bike, to taking ballet, and going to college, and marriage, just her whole life. And it chokes me up to think about this now, but I thought, that's how remarkable these birth moms are. When they choose you, it's because they see probably even more than you do. They see, you're going to teach my child how to ride a bike. You're going to teach my child how to spell. You're going to teach my child how to get through school and make friends and go to college and be responsible, like all of these big picture things. And I thought, in those couple seconds of that movie, that is what amazes me about birth mothers today, that they are so active in choosing adoption for their child. It's not just like the old days where they felt sort of pigeonholed or shamed into choosing adoption. These women know they have options, and they want this for their baby. So when they pick you, it's because they probably have pictured all of that, and it's really beautiful to imagine that she may have seen so much more than you. You right now might be preparing a nursery and thinking, I just can't wait to use this blanket that my grandma knitted for me, or this mobile that was handed down 3 generations. You might be picturing that. Maybe that's as far as you can get, is picturing just even that first year with your baby. But that birth mother who chose you is picturing so much more. So just keep that in mind when you start learning about the idea of being chosen by your child's birth mom.
Mm-hmm. One cool thing about the Storks movie, and we won't stick on this topic too much longer, but one cool thing was the wall of babies. When you watch the movie, stick around to the end, you'll see in like the credit roll, I'm not giving anything away, but in the credit roll, you'll see like this wall of babies, all these baby pictures that are put on a wall like wallpaper. The only time I've ever seen that is within the Lifetime office. Because oftentimes our coordinators will like print out little pictures. Now we've switched to more of a scrapbook format.
That too, Kim. I thought that too,
yeah. I actually took a picture.
Exactly. It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
And that's why
it's so neat how
if you follow our Facebook page, you probably see those pop up on Instagram or Facebook, or if you go to the updates link on lifetimeadoption.com, you can see all those stories. And it is encouraging to know that those are only a fraction of the successful adoptions that we hear about. Some people just don't have time to send photos, or they just kind of move on with their lives, and we don't always get those updates. But when we do get those updates, it is like looking at all that big picture of, look at all these lives and these beautiful families like all of you that you've offered these birth mothers, and that you are fulfilling that promise to her for her baby. It's just amazing. We had a great question here just to clarify that said, so there isn't a waiting list, but are there more birth mothers inquiring than there are parents who are waiting to adopt? And the answer is yes. That's part of how our application team actually looks at your application, is so that they are fair also in offering an opening to you. Because here's a great example Kim and I often go to is, and I had a family request this, and incidentally they ended up waiting and they got matched with this, but this is pretty rare. If you're hoping specifically for a blonde-haired 3-year-old girl, those situations don't come as often as the pregnant women who are calling us looking for their babies to be placed for adoption at birth. So we might look at applications that are requesting an older child or a toddler specifically and not open to a newborn, and think, you're going to wait excessively in our program and you're not going to be successful. So if they're not confident that they have birth mothers calling in and completing adoptions with either families like yours or with opportunities you're looking for, then they're going to encourage you to look for a different agency. And that's not a personal thing. Kim, I love how you always go into the fact that if your application is denied, that doesn't mean that Lifetime thinks you're going to be a horrible parent.
Right. It doesn't mean you'll never adopt, right. It doesn't mean we don't think you'll be successful. It just means we don't have the ability to meet your needs, because every organization is going to have limitations. Everyone can't help everyone just because they applied or knocked on their door or, called their number. I mean, it's not always going to work out to be the perfect fit, and we have to be very open with families about that. And I'll tell you, Libby, it can be really difficult when we just have to be like, I'm sorry, the needs that you have, I mean, we just can't meet those needs, or we just don't have birth moms seeking a family like yours right now in our program. After especially, we've gotten to know the family and we really like them, like we would want to see them be successful, but we know that in the end it's better for every family if we're very open about our ability to meet their needs, so they can search for the right place and be available where their needs can be met, versus just saying, oh, well, sure, come on in and we'll see what happens. I mean, you never want that. I mean, as much as people would love to work with Lifetime, the reality is, if they knew that we weren't able to meet their needs, it wouldn't be, they're better off just finding a place that can. And we generally receive somewhere between like 200 and 400 applications each month, but we only have about 12 to 16 openings each month. So there are some really wonderful families that we're just not able to help. And the reason why, I mean, that's part of why Marty Caldwell, our founder, has chosen to never charge an application fee, even though it is very time intensive to process all these applications, but at least we're not charging anything to find out if we can help you, and she is very firm on that.
True. And that, again, is for your benefit, because here's the other thing. If we start having, say, all families who have 0 children and they all fall within a certain age range, and a birth mother calls and is actually thinking, I'm from a big family and I would love for my baby to be the youngest of the siblings, and we don't have any families with siblings to offer her, she's gonna feel like she wasn't heard, and she may reconsider her adoption choice, or find another place to look for a family, and we would rather Lifetime's families be chosen for the amazing lives that they offer these babies. So again, that's why birth mothers also call Lifetime, because we have a true variety of families for her to choose from, but that also meet a lot of the basic core needs and values that are being requested by these women.
Now, talking about the wait, like we don't have a wait list like Libby said, but what a wait list is, in some organizations, you will wait to even be presented to a birth mom. Like, you have to wait your turn in line.
Oh, I've heard that.
Until,
yes.
Right. So
You're
maybe they only present.
Yeah.
You're not even presented. Birth moms can't even see you yet, because you have to wait your turn to be in the next batch to be presented to the next birth mom. Or maybe you're only presented to one birth mom at a time, and you have to wait and see what she does before you're eligible to be presented to someone else. Well, here at Lifetime, we have a multi-streamed format where everyone's needs can be met. You can be presented to every birth mom that matches with you, and she's able to truly pick a family out of all the families that match with her. She can pick which one she likes the most, and that is a big reason why our online profiles are so important. Some people are shy about, being included on an online profile. They're curious, like concerned, what information is going to be shared about us. And you'll see on there, we don't share any identifying information. It's your first names, what state you live in, general occupation. We don't share like your last name or your company you work for, what college you graduated from, what town you live in, what church you go to. We don't share that type of information, and really those aren't the things birth moms need to know. They want to know what your life is going to be like, what your values are, like Libby was saying, all the reasons why they choose families. Those are the things that they want to know. So she's able to go through there. Even if she never contacted Lifetime, she can go through the profiles and see the general information and express interest in you. That's one way a birth mom can choose a family. Then there's also the printed profile. I did see a question in here about how profiles are presented. There is the printed profile as well, because not all birth moms are going to go to the website and want to sift through families. Some will. Some will just go to their region that they're seeking a family in, and they'll be happy looking through families there. But some will contact us and want us to, really make sure. I call it hand select, but we're not doing any decision making. We're just listening to her, finding out what the characteristics are, and then hand picking those profiles that match everything without leaving anyone out, and we're presenting those to her. And she may be a birth mom that really wants to physically sit there and hold your profile and turn the pages, and that's the best way that she's going to receive that information and find that connection. Some will just want to be texted your profile, a PDF of your profile, or emailed your profile. So any method of technology, using technology, and however she's going to best receive that information, what her preferences are for being presented with families, we're going to go there and meet her where she is and use the technology we have access to. So we stay on the cutting edge. I mean, we even have our own, we've had for many years, our own iPhone and smartphone app for adoption, which I believe we were the first to present adoptive parents using an app. Like literally, there's an app for that. So a birth mom could really plan an adoption through an app. And while not all birth moms are downloading an app for adoption, maybe her aunt or friend or other relative is thinking along those lines. And
well,
they'll
actually,
show her that
happened. If you guys don't mind, another story over Thanksgiving. I was on call Thanksgiving night, and that carried over into the next Friday morning. In the middle of the night, got woken up by the mother of a birth mother, so this is birth grandma, and she's actually the one who had requested information in the first place. So it was that they had recently found out that she was pregnant, and she wasn't a minor either. She just, you know, a lot of you have great relationships with your parents. You would include them in a crisis. So she was just helping her grown daughter. And it's just that she delivered a lot sooner than they expected. She was a lot further along than they thought when they found out she was pregnant. So everything kind of came down quickly. But there was also a great question here that just said, so how many profiles are presented to these birth mothers? That really varies, again, up to birth mom. If she wants dozens of profiles to consider, we will do that for her. But this birth mother I was helping around Thanksgiving, she only wanted, well, she really only wanted maybe like 2 or 3, but I sent her about 6 because I just couldn't narrow it down further. And I thought, okay, she needs to see these because I don't want her to miss out. But I narrowed it down based on a lot of information she had told me she was looking for, and got down to this small list of families. And I was so grateful that all of them had websites, because she was looking at them on her phone in a hospital bed after having given birth. So it's not like we really had time to, arrange a packet to get to her by mail. And honestly, she moved so quickly that there wouldn't even really have been time to ask somebody to print these for her. She wanted to get things in place. Interestingly, in this list, the short list, a very short list, most birth moms are getting at least usually more than 10, I would say. So here you figure 6 families. Their websites presented. There were families who had just started within this year. There were families who had waited, longer than 18 months, some of them even about a couple of years. So there was this variety. She didn't know either, this family's been waiting this amount of time, this family's been here this long. She just looked at who they were. And she ended up choosing a family who was in that 6, was among of those families had waited longer than the others. So to us, it was kind of cool to see that it didn't have anything to do with whether it was a fresh-faced family that had just gotten online or someone who's been waiting longer. She noticed in them the right answer for her baby. So it's hard sometimes when we get asked, Kim, it's pretty common even for you to hear, but certainly once you're in Lifetime's program, to hear, well, why do some families wait longer than others? And we don't always know. We don't always know the answer to that. If you're doing everything you can, I will just share, there are some people who are not doing everything they can, and sometimes those families have reasons why they're still waiting. In fact, I just ran a query today, and I noticed that there were a lot of families who didn't have home studies completed within this criteria that we were looking for. So it made the list that was presented to this birth mom pretty narrow. So there are reasons sometimes, but sometimes we, again, because we can't force these women to pick a family, because that would probably backfire, usually does. And so if you have that concern, your coordinator is happy to talk to you about it, but don't get frustrated if she says, I don't know, it looks like everything you've either prepared to do will put you in place with this average we see, or if you're already waiting and you ask your coordinator, why am I still waiting? She may say, I don't know, you've done everything you can. So there's only so much we can predict. But Lifetime, all of our programs are very diligent in helping you check off all the necessities, but also all of the extras that can increase your chances of being found by the right birth mother. So if there's anything you haven't checked off, go get that done and checked off, because I loved this. I heard on a couple webinars recently, Kim, we had adoption stories from the end of summer through this fall, and a couple of them actually shared, I did everything, even the awkward video, because I just wanted to know in my head, I have checked every single thing off. There is nothing left to even say, is that what's holding me back? So sometimes it is about what you're doing on your end, but also sometimes it is, going back to that Thanksgiving baby, it's about being noticed by the right birth mother for the right reasons. And there was, I mean, really, I can't wait till someday this family can come share how that came together, because it really was meant to be from
And if
our
you think
point of
about
view.
it, that birth mom she was walking a path toward adoption whether she realized it or not. You know, adoption was in her future. It ended up being the decision she made. And that baby was on its way for all those months, and the family never knew about it because it wasn't time yet for that to be revealed. And that just amazes me. I always love thinking about that aspect of adoption, especially with Drop in the Labs. When the unsuspecting family just gets a call in the middle of the night, your baby is here, how soon can you get there?
Yes. Sorry, I think I was affirming you, but also some of these questions that are coming in, because they're tagging on to what we're talking about, Kim, and I know we have kind of a mixed audience, which is really great because it'll mean that we have, you know, kind of different elements to cover here. So if you're feeling a little bit like, wait, now you're talking about on this side of the program, but I'm still here on the application side, or if you're already working with us and you're thinking, yeah, that's basics to me, you know, just stay on, but you can also always follow up if you're not sure how this may apply to your adoption specifically, because like we had a great question that said, I know it varies, but what would our average time be, do you think? You know, just kind of projecting.
So
and,
our average
match
time
with you would be better answered.
Well, our average match time is 6 to 18 months across the board. And there may be a family that we think, oh, they're going to get, you know, they're going to get picked right away. They're open to everything. They have all the classic things a birth mom is looking for. Sometimes that comes true, and sometimes that's a family that for no logical reason, you know, that's revealed to us in these waiting months, you know, they just take more time. Sometimes the reasons for that are revealed later, and you can kind of put two and two together. What I'm really getting at is God's timing here. You know, that prevails, and we want to be within the Lord's will for each of these adoption stories and all these lives that are intermingling in these adoption plans. You know, we're just the instrument here. We are not the decision makers, so we're not here to force anyone on either side into moving forward. So what we do is find out what's on your heart that you're open to in your adoption and what's on the birth mom's heart as well. And if it all fits together and you're all the answer to each other's prayers, perfect. That's an adoption. So, you know, it's impossible to predict how quickly adoptions can, and sometimes families that we think will take longer, and we talk to them about that and we say, hey, we think, you know, just be prepared for a wait as long as we're all in agreement, you know, that we're confident you will be successful, but we just don't think it'll happen right away, but make sure you are prepared in case it happens sooner than you thought. And then they get picked sooner than they thought. And it became really important that they had followed everything right off the bat and didn't drag their feet on their home study and everything. There was another question about, you know, our selection process for adoptive parents. Our selection process is really primarily limited by the amount of openings that we have, and from there, what are birth moms asking for and what characteristics in birth moms are we seeing on a regular basis. So there's not like an answer key that if you check all these boxes, you're a shoo-in, you're going to get into the program. It's not like that at all. The review committee is going to look at everything as a whole, all your family characteristics, all of your preferences, what birth moms we are seeing and what they're asking for, as well as the families who are already here, what their characteristics are, and what they're asking for in adoption. So it is impossible to tell someone just from a conversation if we're able to help them. It's a process, and it's a team process within Lifetime. It's a team effort. There's not just like one person that's going to make that decision and, oh, well, you had a bad conversation, you didn't sound confident about your choices, so now you're out. It's not like that at all. It's not an audition process, if that makes sense. It's not like trying to get into college or anything like that. It's more like, are we the right fit? It's more like dating and getting engaged and moving forward to marriage. It's more like that than anything else I can compare it to.
Because, and this is what, Kim and I have both been with Lifetime a long time, more than 10 years, and we know that sometimes it's easy, especially we understand when you go through a journey with infertility, and that doctor may even have gotten to a point where they're saying, it's just not going to happen. And it feels so personal. You know that that doctor's not telling you that because they hate you, or they think you're going to be an awful parent, or they just think you are a rotten person. You know, they're telling you that because there's nothing more they can do for you. And that doesn't mean that they are saying you are never, ever going to have what you want. They are just telling you this is the end of the road of what I can do for you. And so that's what our application process is doing too. We're either looking at, can we explore this further and have confidence that yes, we have the answers that could help you get to your baby, or would we actually get in the way of you finding your adoption success?
Right.
You know, so we would step away if we knew. Again, going back to age, there are some people who really only want to adopt older school-age children, and we just don't see those adoptions very much. So we usually point those people to find a different agency that does have success with school-age child adoption.
Unless they fit the criteria that we may be looking for at any given time. We do have at any given time a few small, a very small number of families who are really not looking for an infant, not looking for a toddler, not looking for a preschooler. They really want someone 6 and older, and they're fine with not adopting a newborn toddler or preschooler. They want someone 6 and older, and they're home study ready, and all their preferences are very open. That's something we can talk about, because if we get a 7 or 8-year-old that needs to be placed right away, well, the majority of our families who are home study ready waiting for a newborn aren't open. They're not a match. So we do need someone that we can call for those. Even though they may only happen a couple times a year, we might only need a couple families to meet those needs. So we wouldn't need like 50 families all looking for an older child, because we're not going to be able to meet those needs. And we wouldn't need a family that is only open to something very specific as far as race or gender in an older child program, because, we need people who are a little more open in those in that older child program. But
or another thing, if you're looking for a local adoption, sometimes you might call and say, I'm only looking to adopt within this 3-hour radius of myself.
Yes.
We're not going to be a good fit for that, because honestly, unless you live in a really large state, most of our families are adopting out of state.
Yep. And that means that they found the right, perfect match with that birth mom who chose them, and everything matched 100% on both sides. She picked them and went through with it, and geography had nothing to do with it for the most part. I mean, she might have wanted someone from a certain region, but
there's been some great questions here kind of on this topic of being chosen by a birth mom. What is the average age of adoptive families, and have you seen any birth moms turn families away because, they're not 22?
Well, I would say our families that are in their mid to late 20s have probably, probably not as much of a concern about age. Most of our families are in their 30s and 40s. We do get a lot of inquiries from families in their 50s, and sometimes they're so afraid that they're too old to adopt that they won't even apply and give us a chance to look at the whole picture. And then they're just taking more time, and they're still not adopting. And then it's not making things any better. Like they say, none of us are getting any younger, right? So if you have adoption on your heart, no matter what your age is, you should apply. At least if you're 21, of course. But if you feel like, am I too old, just apply anyway. It's not going to cost you anything, and then we can let you know whether or not you're too old for our program, given a look at the whole picture. Your age is just one of many factors that are looked at, like I've been saying. Let's say you're 51 years old and your husband is 52, and you guys do like marathons and Ironman competitions, and you're at this stage in your lives where you have a lot of flexible time to be able to go to every activity, and you have a really warm personality and you have very open preferences. Well, suddenly your age kind of fades into the background because you have all of these other wonderful things going for you in adoption that leave you open to birth moms, and that birth moms are looking for, that kind of stability, that settled life that she's looking for her child. Sometimes someone who's 22 years old hasn't had the time on the planet to get to the point where they even have the things birth moms are looking for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And again, all of this, you know, if you're already working with Lifetime, I hope that you hear this and think, okay, yeah, I remember going through that process of, you know, learning about Lifetime and applying, and I have confidence that because they welcomed me into their program that I'm going to be chosen, I'm going to be successful. You know, and if you're on the other side and you're thinking, I'm looking for the right place to help me, that is essentially why Lifetime has made our application process free, because we don't want a family to feel like, well, gosh, I just plunked $250 down on 6 different agencies just to see if they could help me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, and it also doesn't obligate you. So if you are researching different places, you can apply, find out, okay, Lifetime is or is not an option for my adoption's future, and then weigh it out. Find the right program that works for you, because that's what I love about today, is that birth moms aren't the only ones with choices. All of you as adoptive parents, you have a choice too. You have a choice in the kind of program that helps you adopt and the services that you want to either kind of be in charge of yourself or have an adoption professional take care of for you. There are different programs that might be all-inclusive, and sometimes those include fees for services that your adoption ultimately may not need. So some people would rather have sort of that blanket insurance of it just covers everything if needed. Others kind of more like our programs, we really, because we want families not to totally break the bank or go off budget, we make sure that they're only paying for services their adoption is going to need. So just, you're going to find the right help for what your adoption goals are. And that's what I always tell people when they want to know, well, should I apply? And I always say, yes, help us get to know you and your adoption goals, because it's not just about who you are, it's also about what you're looking for. So then we can help you decide, yes, it would be wise to learn more about our programs, or you'd be better off spending time researching elsewhere. Because that's all about, we know all of you, the second question to how much is how long. You know, and so we don't want to string people along and think, oh, sure, let's pan this out and see where it goes, and then really ultimately neither of us have confidence it's going anywhere. That wouldn't make sense for anybody.
Libby, there are some questions. They're reading my mind. I'm like, okay, I need to answer these. I need to let them know how to get the budget, the list of itemized expenses that you will need to plan for. Email me if you don't have a coordinator already. Email me kim@lifetimeadoption.com. That's just KIM@lifetimeadoption.com. Put in there your first and last name, that you would like the budget details, and put in there what state you're from as well. And then I can email you in fact, if you already have a coordinator and you haven't had your phone conference yet or something and you're just wondering, just email me anyway. And I will send you a list of the expenses to plan for, as well as an attachment with a chart of our different programs and the different fees for each program. So you can compare them and see which one fits your budget and which fits your needs, and strike a balance there and find the right fit for you. I would say, as far as cost of private adoption, where a birth mom is choosing adoption, this is not a foster adoption. The government is not paying for this. It's private adoption. In a study of last year's adoptions, adoptive parents reported spending anywhere from $15,000 to $55,000, and anywhere in between. I would say our average is probably going to be around $30,000 total for an adoption once you pay for your program, your home study, your legal services. And, in comparison with IVF, it's pretty much very similar to infertility treatments, depending on how invasive you go. For families that haven't considered paying for infertility treatments, this might seem like an unexpected figure to plan for an adoption. Now, there is a federal tax credit, so you can look on our website and read about that. If you go to the front page of our website, lifetimeadoption.com. Scroll down. There is a little yellow square that you can click on to get more information about financing or funding your adoption. And there are drop-down menus for different categories where it links you directly to the irs.gov where you can read about the tax credit, talk with your tax person so they can interpret that for you. You can look at different grants to apply for and different ideas that families have used to fund their adoptions. In fact, we have a special report, Libby, that we can email you if you are interested in reading up on some different ideas that other families have used to successfully fund their adoptions. Just email me, kim@lifetimeadoption.com, and I'll attach that and email it back to you. But remember to put in your first and last name and what state you're from. And then that way I can kind of know who I'm talking to and everything.
Great. Great. I love this. We have a very active audience.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you for offering up your email, Kim, because I've been typing that with some people here behind the scenes because sometimes, like we said, sometimes it helps to not get a generalized answer, and we apologize if some of these answers feel a little umbrellaed because we're talking to a lot of you, and you're all in different phases with all different ideas of what you're searching for in your adoption, so we can't always be very specific because then that would only apply to you and everybody else would be thinking, what are they talking about? So if you want to get more clarity on a topic or more information, definitely reach out to us. Again, it doesn't hurt to talk to us. You're not going to email Kim and suddenly she's going to spam your email all the time and like hound you to death. We're very helpful. Education is a big deal to us.
Yes.
We don't believe at all that it's possible to be over-informed when it comes to adoption. There's just so much to think about. And this truly is a big passion of ours. All of the programs at Lifetime offer that personal guidance so that you're not feeling like, oh, I'm just out here floating around. I hope I make the right decision. That really you are guided to the best of your adoption's potential to not only protect you, but to protect that birth mother who chooses you and have as smooth a process as possible. And so you may have heard, some of you may have attended a webinar that we did recently with Beth and Heather, and they took questions from the audience and answered from their own personal adoption experiences as adoptive parents. And, they spoke a lot to how much happened once they were chosen. So there are a lot of services and support happening while you're just waiting to be chosen, but both of them spoke to how glad they were for the support and the services and the tips and the direction and the availability once they were matched. And that, going back to this Thanksgiving baby, we always tell people, especially when we're closed for a holiday on a day when we'd normally be open, but especially even in evenings. It could be just an average day, but it's overnight. We always like for matched families to know, if your match, if she delivers, you don't have to wait for business hours. Think about Thanksgiving weekend. If I had to tell that woman, I'm not going to be able to reach a family until Monday during business hours, she probably would have went home with her baby and forgotten all about adoption. And not to say that that would have been a wrong decision, but she didn't want to do that. It was very important to her that she have someone there to take her baby home. And so our 24-hour availability is a huge deal. And honestly, it is one of the reasons that some of these birth mothers choose us. I will take calls, and these women will say, oh, my goodness, you're open? Or I've called to
I didn't expect a real person.
Voicemail. Yeah. And they were just expecting maybe to leave a message. And the fact that we answer is such a comfort to them. I mean, I'm always blessed beyond words, sometimes even moved to tears when I spend even just 20 minutes talking with a woman who's thinking about adoption, and as she hangs up, she says, I'm so glad that I called, because it just says to me that she has been carrying a lot on her mind, and the fact that she could get answers right now, you know, when her kids just went down to bed and she finally is able to breathe and sit down and think about this baby she's pregnant with and what am I going to do. Then, of course, when you're matched, for those matched families to know, okay, I don't have to wait for your doors to be open. I need help now because my birth mother just delivered, and we just want to make sure that we do the best next steps possible for all involved, that you call and keep us in the loop, because then we can help. So, and if any of you are wondering, that webinar is online, and it had very good feedback with Beth and Heather. They were very validating and encouraging for people in all different phases of adoption planning. So if you missed that, you can go to adoptionwebinar.com, or if you're already with us, go to your membership site. It's in there too. But again, we love all these questions too, because it also helps us know a little bit more where you're at, what information we can do even in the future to help. Because again, it's, you know, Kim, on average, how long, by the time you talk to, say, a family who's applied, they've been approved and they've scheduled a one-on-one consultation with you, and then you're talking to them, how long on average have those people usually been thinking about adoption before they even got to this point of kind of taking even just that small step?
Right. So thinking about adoption quietly on their own, I would say at least 6 months. Anywhere from that period of time to, I've always known since I was 16 that I would be adopting if I wanted to be a mom. So they always knew about it. But maybe their spouse just got on board, or they just, you know, landed that job where they're going to have that stability that they were shooting for before they grow their family. And so now all of a sudden they're taking action steps. So there's quite a range. It's more of a range.
And I would just say that it's also true that even once they get to that point, they're not just, you know, talking with Kim, okay, sign me up the next day. We know this is a big deal to you, which is why we want the free webinars. We want you to have access to information and get answers, because the clarity and being informed is only going to benefit you as you continue to say yes and move forward in the path that you're called to adopt this baby. It breaks our hearts when we hear about people that just felt like they sort of dove into adoption and then are just flapping their arms around like, what do we do? What do we do? And they're just panicked and worried. You know, it's better to have as much information as possible. So we really appreciate all of these questions, and you know, hopefully we'll have an opportunity to follow up with some of you, or if you're already working with Lifetime too, that you can reach out to your coordinator and say, hey, I asked this question last night and they kind of touched on it, but I was hoping for a little more direction. She would love to help you. But also, if you aren't yet contracted with us, that you can call and speak with someone. Say, hey, I was listening to a webinar last night and I need more information, and that's okay. Don't ever feel bad about asking for more information. Kim, are there any questions on here that you want to cover before we wrap up tonight? This hour's just long.
Yes, I mean, I think that we need to strike a good balance. We've talked about the birth mom's choice and picking a family she's comfortable with, but often we get so wrapped up in talking about that we don't share the basics of how you touched on this briefly, but we have a question here that says, do adoptive parents get a say in which mom chooses them? Can they say no? And we are very thorough in setting up your preferences with you. We ask you tons of questions, and you say yes or no, or here's my description of, it's a yes for alcohol, but only if she stopped once she knew she was pregnant. Or I'm a no on special needs, or I'm okay with some minor correctable special needs, like if it's just a corrective surgery or hearing impaired, I'm okay with that. Everything else, I'm not okay with that. So we have a good, thorough discussion with you to establish your preferences, the framework, you know, within which we will search for a birth mom. So we only present your profile to birth moms that fit within everything you've said you're okay with. So by the time she chooses you, hopefully she will not find herself being considered or being rejected, because if she's not a fit for you, then we need to somehow solve that very quickly before another birth mom is rejected, because, Libby, that's just so hard for birth moms. That's not our goal here. We do not want to match families that aren't a match. We want to help you be successful in finding the adoption that is the answer to your prayers, and that you are going to say yes to that birth mom when choosing you. But so yes, you are expected to say yes to a birth mom when she's chosen you, but first it's very important to be aware of how we are structured so that you feel comfortable with that, you understand what all has led to that, where she's able to choose you. A birth mom that's not even within your preferences is not allowed to choose you. It's just not a match.
And that comes from, sometimes, as you heard about the websites that we have, sometimes there are calls we'll take from women who say, I saw this family on your website, can I learn more about them? And we will kind of get some information about her and cross-check it to what you've already told us you're open to. And if there's something in her situation that you've already said, I would not accept a match like that, I don't want to be presented with a match like that, then we're going to tell her, they're not available, but here are dozens of other families you could choose from. And typically she's okay with that. She understands.
It's not a personal rejection at that point.
Right.
Right. It's not a personal rejection if she expressed interest in you. But if we presented you to her, going off your preferences, she will feel, in most cases, that's a personal rejection. And oftentimes she's going to feel so hurt in a world where she's already being told she's in an unwanted pregnancy. This baby is unwanted, which we all know is not true. But she's going to be made to feel that way if she's presented with families that supposedly match with her, and all she has to do is pick one. She picks one and they reject her. That's a very personal rejection.
And unfortunately, I've had to do that before several times. Sometimes there's also reasons outside of your control, but what we always say, and this is a little bit on the inside scoop kind of thing, if suddenly, let's say like what Kim just described, that you're chosen by a birth mother that originally, as we got to know her, fell within what you told us you were looking for, and you even accept the match, but then suddenly some information comes out that we didn't have available before, or
something new develops.
Yeah, if that baby's born and suddenly you're thinking, I was not open to an African American baby, and I thought this baby was biracial, and something like that. Or we've even had families that said, I'm only looking for a girl, and then the baby was born a boy, and they made the decision to walk away. But in those cases, what we always say, and I would imagine this is good advice for whoever you choose to help you adopt, you don't just walk away like it never happened. You pull away discreetly. You call your adoption coordinator immediately and let them know the changes, and they will help another family come into the match so that that birth mom's not devastated, so that she's not in shock that suddenly you're just gone, disappeared. Those situations are very rare, though, because it is a huge priority of ours to make sure that you are presented with opportunities that you want to say yes to. We don't ever want to call someone and just be hoping that you're excited to hear about it. We want to have more certainty and confidence that the opportunities that we're going to call you about are situations that you would say, yes, 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 I want to talk to her, I'm ready, and that's typically how it goes, is that you're going to be presented with an opportunity that you've already settled in your heart is what you're looking for.
Yes, you will be presented with an opportunity. Some adoptive parents expect to be presented with multiple opportunities before they finally agree to one. That's not how we're structured here. We are presenting families with their adoption opportunities, but when we're talking about your specific experience, we're going to be presenting you with the opportunity to which you will say yes, because you match everything. Everything is a go. You've already made these decisions. You've already prayed about these decisions long before the birth mom was presented with you. And then at that point now, you're able to just say yes and move forward.
Awesome. Well, I just, This isn't our final webinar of the year, but it is the last public access one. People who are already working with us, all of you have gotten emails about webinars that are private access only, and so we look forward to those. But it is a little bittersweet, I would say, just to think back on this year of webinars with all of you and being open to all audiences. It's always great to have this mixed audience and to have these Q&As because, again, it helps us also learn what your needs are and what your questions are, because we don't want to only know about what birth moms are looking for. We also want to know what adoptive parents need to learn. So again, thank you to all of you who have been faithful webinar attendees, or if this is your first time, welcome. This is not going to be the last one you'll hear about, but it is the last one for this year. But I also want to encourage all of you, if no matter what stage you're in right now, whether you are just starting to think about adoption and you're starting to research, or if you are serious about adoption and you're diligently trying to find the right help, or if you're already working with us, just remember there have been many families come before you that have walked through holidays with heavy hearts or mixed feelings or wondering, is this ever going to happen for me? Is this meant to be for me? Where's this going for me? And they share their stories on webinars, and they have been some of the most encouraging resources for anyone who's just longing to add a child to their family, especially if you're seriously pursuing adoption. So I encourage all of you, if you're moving through this month and you just need a little boost or to remember that it's worked for other people, go look for those webinars. If you're not working with us already, you have access to a lot of webinars. If you go to adoptionwebinar.com, all you have to do is just plug in your email and it'll get you signed up for that website so you can get in and listen to those. But if you're already working with us, you also have access to even more webinars in your membership website. So don't neglect those. It's pretty common lately that when we book webinar guests, they're usually telling us, I always wanted to come on a webinar because the webinars were so helpful to me while I was trying to adopt. So I encourage all of you to go check those out if you need more information. Even if it's not encouragement, but you're a sponge right now and you're thinking, I just want to keep soaking this up. There's so many other Q&As and other informational tips. I will even recommend that earlier in the springtime, Kim and Marty and I actually did two webinars where she spoke just about adoptive parenting tips. So it can even help you just to not even worry so much about the logistics in the process, but to go listen to tips on bonding with the baby you're going to adopt. So go check those out. Stay in touch and let us know how you're doing. No matter where you are in the process, your coordinator always loves to hear from you and to know how she can help you or to know where you're at in the process. Just remember, you can reach out to us, 1-800-923-6784. If you don't have a coordinator already and you're not sure who to email and you'd rather email, you can write to adopt@lifetimeadoption.com, or even shoot a message on our Facebook page or through our website. We'll get that to the right person too. So Kim, thank you for being here tonight. Is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I just want to, well, yes, I do, Libby. There is something. No, and then just keeps talking. No, yes, absolutely. You know, we know that the holidays, Christmas, can be a very emotional time when you have a longing in your heart. And I think the best thing is what you're doing now, staying focused on taking these steps, staying focused on getting the information you need. Don't let the holidays be a time for you to put things off. You know, strive toward your goals and stay encouraged, and let us be people who can walk with you, whether we end up being your final destination for adoption or just someone who shines a light on things, maybe holds up a lantern for you along the way at some point. But we are here to help, like Libby said. Every single coordinator here at Lifetime would want to be able to help you. We live and breathe to be able to help, and we find it such a blessing to be able to lift the burden off of someone, especially if it's just answer a question that you were wondering about. So don't hold back on those, and we're here for you. And I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas, and we look forward to having another webinar with you in the new year.
Thank you, Kim. Yes, absolutely. Christmas blessings to all of you, and I'm so glad you brought that up, Kim, because I will say I know how busy my inbox has been, especially since Cyber Monday hit last week, and all of you are probably inundated with buy this and look at this deal and donate here and there. But just remember, too, if you see an email from Lifetime, take a moment to open that, because chances are it's there to help you and not ask much of you. So I know it can be easy to tune out. Doesn't even matter what phase you're in. Sometimes it's easy to just say, I'm too busy right now. I don't even want to think about that. But you just never know what could be on the other side of an email or a voicemail or a phone call. So at least stay connected, to your own emotional ability, but so that you also aren't totally checked out. You want to be in tune, because I will also share that after New Year comes, we not only see a lot of adoptive parents who want to take that next step and get that ball rolling with New Year's resolutions and their adoption goals, but we also typically get a lot of calls after the New Year's from women who are considering adoption. And if any of you want to do the math, that's usually because things happened over Thanksgiving or Christmas, and they're just finding out about them and wanting to consider options through adoption. So you could be the answer that those women are looking for, and you just want to make sure that you're staying ready and proactive no matter what phase you're in, whether you're already waiting or you are getting up and started. So thank you, Kim, for being my loyal co-host here. And to all of you, we hope to hear from you and look forward to meeting with you again soon. Have a great evening, everyone.
Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.